welcome to Katrina's Creations Knitting Podcast. We have a lot of new viewers, so if you are new to watching this channel, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button down below. And if you click on the little bell next to the subscribe button, it will actually let you know whenever I post, which is normally on a Saturday morning. I record Friday night, which is what it is right now. It's Friday night. But the video will go up tomorrow morning because it takes some time to do the editing and the uploading. So you can find me on Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook as Katrina Knits. And if you don't get Instagram, don't worry. If you go and join the Facebook page, I post the same thing there. So I post to both at the same time. We're having a lot of fun. Some people are chatting back and forth and showing pictures of what they're making and some yarn and things. It's a lot of fun. So join the group. So if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for hanging in with me as I kind of muddle my way through this YouTube experience. If you have Instagram, actually if you have Instagram or Facebook and you watched my page this week, I don't know if you caught it, but I did when I need to use spell check. I really need to use spell check. I wrote down, watch the unboxing, yes, and instead of mitered square, I had the muttered square blanket. And I posted it, it went out to everybody, and then I looked back to see if anybody had written anything so I could respond and went, duh. It would help if I spelled. I made the same mistake when my daughter got married and we did the little program for the wedding. I was in such a hurry trying to type it that I never caught that I misspelled bride. Consistently, all the way through the program, I reversed the R and the I, so it said birdie. So it was the mother of the birdie, the father of the birdie, all the way through the program. Yes. So apparently I'm consistent with misspelling things. And I homeschooled my children. Isn't that scary? Yeah, anyway. If you have been watching, it started yesterday. It will be the Yarn Advent Calendar where each day I unbox a mini skein out of the little red bag that was sent to me. Now there was some confusion and I wanted to apologize for that. I gave you the eBay seller's name and it is really knit stuff. I'll put it right down here. But you used to be able to search eBay by the seller's name, and I just kind of assumed that that was still working, but I had some people who thankfully let me know that there was a problem, and I went in and checked and went, it's not the same anymore. So if you would like to check out these mini yarn hanks, if you go to eBay and type in sock yarn hanks, it will show up. And then she's like the first one listed. If you see a group of 20 mini skeins for $25, that's the right one. There's also one that she sells, I think there's 30 in the package that she sells for $37, something like that. But that is the right one. Just for some reason it wouldn't let you search by seller. So I'm sorry for the confusion, and yeah, things have changed on eBay. It's been a while since I have sold things on eBay. I used to sell fairly regularly. My husband and I like to look at auctions, and I would buy things at auctions and then turn around and resell them. And I usually made out pretty well, but I ran into some strange buyers sometimes. I bought one time, this is a crazy story, totally nothing to do with knitting, but it is kind of funny. I bought this box of vintage baby dolls. They were baby dolls from anywhere from the late 60s to the early to mid 80s. And I think I got the entire box for like $5. So I took a couple of them out for my granddaughters to play with. And I had these baby dolls left. So I decided to sell them on eBay. Most of them sold, no problem whatsoever. There was a little Mrs. Beasley doll, if you remember that from Family Affair. I was a kid when that was on. But there was a little Mrs. Beasley doll. There was Dressy Bessie, which I don't know if you remember her or not. She was like a little flat doll, and it had little buttons and zippers. And it was to teach kids how to tie and zip and button and all that. And you could dress this little ugly looking doll, but you could dress her. In the middle of all this was a baby Chrissy doll. Now, baby Chrissy was the size of a 9-month-old baby, a real baby, and she had this bright red hair and a hole in the top of her head where you could pull her hair and it would like extend and make it longer, or you could crank the crank in her back and it would make it shorter. So I had these people bidding for baby Chrissy, and the lady who won the doll, when she went to go pay for it, she says, "Can you take the head off the doll? I don't want the body. Just ship me the head." And I'm thinking, you want me to decapitate a baby doll? But yeah, that's what she wanted me to do. She says, just rip the head off. And I was like, what? She says, I don't want to pay the shipping for the whole body. She actually would design clothes for these baby dolls and then sell them. And apparently she had a body that was in good shape, but the head of the doll wasn't. And the body that I had wasn't in great shape, but the head was. So she wanted to put the two together, which when she explained it, it made sense. But she and I kept going back and forth. And I said, well, before I yank the head off the doll, because once I do it, it's going to ruin the doll, because you had to cut the string in her back that would make the hair go up and down. I said, you have to guarantee me that you're going to buy it, because once I do this, I can't put it back, and nobody's going to want this doll, who wants a headless baby doll. So she says, yeah, that's fine. I said, okay. So I ripped the head of the baby doll off and stuff it in a box, and then she sends me an email and says, could you send some of the clothes that were with it? Those were vintage too, weren't they? And I was like, yeah. She says, well, I'll take the clothes. I said, okay. So I tucked the clothes in there, and I told Dave, my husband, I said, at first she told me she didn't need the long hank of hair that came out. And I said, it isn't going to cost anything extra to ship because it's pretty light. I'm tucking that in there anyway, because probably she'll ask me if she can have that now too, after she said she didn't want it. I was right. An email came through shortly after there. Can you include the hair? And I was like, already did. Yeah, taking care of it. I think that was the craziest. So I shipped a baby doll's head. You imagine what that looked like going through an x-ray scanner through an airport or anything? Really bizarre. I felt like the Addams Family daughter, with the baby that had no head. And so she was like, well, maybe you could sell just the body. And was like, I don't think people are going to want a doll with no head. So, yeah, that was like the strangest sale I ever had with eBay. But, yeah, strange. Definitely different. So, back to the knitting issues. Now that I've ranted about my eBay experiences, I thought I would tell you a little bit about the mitered square blanket that I am putting these squares into. Now, I'm going to show you part of it here. There it is. And there are all kinds of free patterns on Ravelry for the mitered square, not the muttered square as I spelled it, but the mitered square blanket. There is the Cozy Memories blanket, but there are a lot of them. They're all pretty much the same. They're just a mitered square, right like this. There is a little trick to how you put these on, because you don't just sew the blocks individually and then attach them. You actually are attaching them as you go. So if you would like a tutorial on how to do this, leave me a thumbs up and I will do a tutorial. Otherwise, if I don't get enough thumbs up, I'm not going to bother, because I don't really want to bore people by something that they go, oh, that's pretty simple. But if you do want to know, just let me know, and I will do a short little tutorial. You basically have to start from the left, but there's a little more involved. So anyway, this is what it looks like. This is before I've added the squares on that I'm drawing out. That's the other half of the blanket. This is part of it that was done ahead of time. And a lot of the blocks that are in here are actually from this eBay seller from before. I think this one, most of the ones that you see are colored, like this one and this one and this one and this one and this one over here. These are ones that actually came from her. So I knew what I was getting when I ordered from her, because I've ordered from her before and I was really, really pleased. Her yarns look really good, and they're 100% wool, and they knit up very nicely, and they're nice color combinations. So yeah, check her out. So that started, like I said, the yarn advent calendar started yesterday, which would have been Friday when you're seeing it, and it will run through December 20th unless there's an extra skein. The last time she threw an extra one in there, so if there is, it'll be a bonus video, but I don't know yet because I haven't opened it that far. So that's what's going on with the yarn advent calendar. Now, with whips, I've been very busy this week. I've done a lot of knitting. So let me get started with first the design shawl I'm working on. And if you have not been watching for a while, I've been working on this for a while. I have no name for it. That's why I'm calling it my design shawl. If you have a name suggestion, put it down in the comments below. And when I finish this thing, I'm going to choose one of the names that people have suggested, and whoever's name I choose for the shawl will get a free pattern. So let me show you what it looks like so far, and I'll show you what I've added to it. Here's the beginning, and then it goes across here. Has lots of lace in it, because I like to knit lace. And here is where I'm at. Here's my little stitch marker, right there. So I stopped right here last week, and I've knitted up through here. This is there's 4 colors in the shawl. This is color number 4, so then this is color number 3. Now I'm working into color number 2 right here. So I'm coming back out of the colors again as the shawl gets wider. And it is kind of a, I don't know what kind of, I don't know if this is an isosceles triangle or a scaling triangle. Not sure. It's a type of a triangle, but it's not like your typical triangle shawl. I think it's an isosceles triangle. Here it is. Bring a roll back. There it is. So it's getting wider as I finish up. So that is my design shawl. The yarn that I am using is Knit Picks palette in a fingering weight, and it's four skeins of 4 different colors, or you could do the same color, but it wouldn't show the stripes. So, yeah, if you have a name, stick it in the little thing down below. Then I have my On the Spice Market. I hadn't worked on it for a couple of weeks, and I went to Knit Night the other night, and so I took it with me. Because when I go to Knit Night, I don't like to take yarn that I've bought from someplace else. I just think that's kind of poor taste to be knitting something that I didn't buy from the store that's like letting me come in there to knit. So I always try to make sure I have something that I've purchased from that yarn shop, which isn't hard because I've purchased a bit from her. Anyway, this is my On the Spice Market. I didn't do too much because Knit Night's only like 2 hours, so this is where I was, and I knitted up through here. And this is what it looks like. This is my second On the Spice Market. My other one that I made is a little heavier material. This is much lighter weight. It's still wool, but it is a lighter weight. It's a darker color. The other one is kind of pinks and purples, but not these type of pinks and purples. It's kind of pinks and roses, and the main background color is gray, where this one, the main background color is black. And the yarn that I'm using for this, for the black background, is made from sugar cane, which is really kind of cool. It's extremely soft. And the yarn that I'm using for the colors in here, if you were using the pattern, it calls for a different skein of yarn, which is what I did last time for each of those. This is actually, I don't know if it's considered a sock blank or what. It's only this wide. You can use, it is sock weight yarn, between fingering and sock weight yarn. And I'm actually, it's meant to be knitted like this with big chunky needles, but I'm actually pulling it out like this, just like you would a sock blank, and I'm knitting from that. And I'm not using different skeins because this has quite a few, as you can see, different colors. The only thing I'm changing is at some portions the purple, like right here, is so dark. Here it starts getting a little darker, but here you can see the purple almost turns to an eggplant, and then it almost goes to black. When it does that, I'm cutting this section out because with a black background, it's not going to show. So yeah, whenever I hit these dark sections, I just eliminate that portion of the yarn and wind it up and just use it for, I'll just use it for something else. So that is my On the Spice Market. And There's some of my sugarcane yarn. And like I said, it is really, really soft. So, been having fun with that. And that is in my Stitch and You bag that I won from the Yarn and You podcast. And it did have a little progress keeper on here that is a little teapot, but it's not on there right now. I've got it in my Notions pouch. So I have that going on. Then I've been working on, let's try to get this over here in one piece. I've been working on my shawl for my mother for Christmas. This is a pattern I designed called Banner Unfurled. It is available on Ravelry. It's a $4 pattern, but you can use the coupon code KC20 and get 20% off. And let's see if I can pull all the little, I've got yarn balls attached to it right now because I'm holding yarn balls double because this yarn is really thin and it's meant to be knitted with a fingering to sock weight yarn, and these are lace weight, so I'm holding 2 at a time. So that's the red, this is the multicolor, and this is, it's all tangled up, this is the brown with all the rest of the yarn attached. There's the brown. And it has beads on it, not yet, but it's going to have beads on it. And I think I'm going to do the beads in black because I think that would make them kind of pop a little bit more. I had some brown beads, but I don't think they're going to stand out as well. So this is an asymmetrical shawl knit on the bias. So here it is. It's brown and red, which sounds like a strange color combination until you get to the multicolor, and the multicolor has, here you can see it comes in. It has the browns and the reds in it, and I'm using my little cookie stitch marker. There we go. I got this off of eBay. It was a set of 6, I think, total. So this is one of them. And so that's how far I knit on that. So I'm coming down the home stretch. This is not a real big shawl. It's not something that's, it's more like a shawlette, kind of, it's more scarf-like size, in size-wise. It's not a deep shawl. I think it comes out to about 15 inches deep. And it's big enough to wrap around on your shoulders, but it doesn't hang down real far. So I think all total it takes, I'm trying to remember how many yards. It's like 300 or 400 yards. It's a fairly small shawl. So I've been working on that this week. Because I really have to get it done for Christmas for my mother. And then I've been knitting, this has been my car knitting. This is a poncho, and this is the 1/2 of the poncho, and it sits sideways. So it actually is going to turn, it's triangular. And you can see from my stitch marker, I've knit a lot on this. This is the other one of those little Christmas ones. It's a Christmas tree cookie. And I have knit all the way up to here this week. I was at an all-day meeting on Tuesday. And so I did lots of knitting because if I just sit there, I will be bored out of my mind and start fidgeting. So this is my, I've said it before, this is my fidget spinner. So I've been knitting on it. This is an acrylic. This is Katia Paint is the name, and it is a gradient. I think this is color number 53. They don't have names. This is color number 53. So it's kind of autumn colors. And like I said, this is the front or the back. It's just going to turn on its side, and then it would go across like this. So, and this is a free pattern on the Katia website. So if you go to katia.com, that's where it is, the pattern is at. And this is how much I've got left. I'm into the last color, the gray that's in here. And it is living in a bag that I made a while back. It's a little drawstring bag. So, been working on that. And then, as if that wasn't enough to where I've got a couple other projects. I've been casting things on this week. I don't know what I'm thinking. But I decided I needed some bling in my life. And I had this yarn. I've had it for a while. I don't even really remember where I got it from. I think I got it from a $2 porch sale at a yarn shop up in Chambersburg. It is called Metallica. And let's see who it's by. It's a Barocco yarn. It's from Barocco. And it is 85% rayon and 15% metallic. And there are 85 yards. I have 3 skeins of it, which just happens to be just enough to do the shawl, the cowl that I designed called the Basic Stitches Cowl. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And I am knitting this in the round. The pattern has you knitting it flat and seaming it, but I've known all along I could knit it in the round. I just didn't write the pattern that way. So it is super sparkly, and I thought Christmas it would look really good. So I actually started this today. So I've gotten through the garter stitch section and the yarn over section and the seed stitch. I've got one more row of seed stitch to go, and then I start the cables. So I don't know if you can see. It doesn't look sparkly here. I don't know if I hold it back. I'm looking in the monitor to see if it sparkles. It's not sparkling. It's very, very... See if the ball of yarn will show it. Yeah, you can see it somewhere. It looks like I'm knitting glitter. And the yarn itself is kind of neat because it's not round. It's like a ribbon, and it's like that woven. I don't know if this is going to show up real well. You can see the sparkles in it, but it's kind of almost like a ribbon or a tape. And it's woven, and it's very smooth. And it's actually very, it's softer than what you would think. A lot of times with metallic yarn, it tends to be a little scratchy. It's not something I want to put like up against my neck, although it's not horrible against it. It really isn't irritating. Sometimes when you have something with sparkle in it, it can be a little scratchy. But this doesn't feel that way. I did make it a little bigger than the pattern calls for. I put 2 more cable sections in it than what the original pattern called for, just because I wanted it to drape a little bit, and because I knew I had a little bit of leeway, because this altogether the cowl pattern calls for 220 yards, and I knew that I had over 200. I had 255 yards of this material, so I knew that I had plenty, and I wasn't gonna have to seam it in the back because I was knitting it in the round. So I made it a little bit bigger, but yeah, it's very shiny and sparkly. I wish it was showing up. It looks just like I'm knitting glitter. It's just really, really pretty. So I gotta have something for Christmas that's like sparkly. So yeah, I worked on that. That was my car knitting, because we went to get groceries today. And we go like an hour away from where we live to get groceries because there's a place we get really good bargains at. I think we got behind every slow driver there was out there. So they must have seen us coming and go, let's get in front of them. Every car in front of us was going like 10 to 20 miles below the speed limit. It was like, oh, we're never going to get there. So, yeah. And then on the way home, we got behind a truck that was carrying not so nice things from the farmyard, if you know what I mean. I don't normally mind the smell of like cow or horse manure. Pig and chicken, yeah, that's nasty, but cow and horse doesn't normally bother me. But this was the wet variety of barnyard stuff, and it had fermented for a while. It was really, really nasty. We were going down the road like trying to hold our breath. We couldn't turn the vents on. We couldn't open the windows. Nothing, because we were right behind it. We followed him for like 3 or 4 miles before he turned off. As soon as he turned off, Dave cracked the windows and we went flying down the road to just air everything out, because it did clear your sinuses up. If nothing else, it cleared up my sinuses, but it was really, really bad. So that was entirely too much information, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, there we go. So now we're on to the sock along that I'm going to talk about, and another cast on that I just happened to do. We are doing a sock along starting in January for the Blueberry Waffle Sock by Sandy Turner. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, but if you don't want to do something with the pattern, there's another one out there called the Basic Stitches by Winwick Mum. If you've never done socks before, she has her own tutorial for these socks. And if you just go to the web page on Ravelry for the download of this pattern, it will take you can follow the instructions. It'll take you to the tutorials. So I'm not going to do a tutorial on that because it's already been done, and she's, as the designer, I'm sure it's much better. So in all honesty, with our sock along, you can knit any socks you would like. If you don't like either of these choices, the main thing is that we all knit socks together. So anyway, I'm doing the blueberry waffle sock. Now, I have done this sock before. Here it is. Now, this is a short, I made an ankle sock, so it doesn't go all the way up my leg because I just wanted like slippery type of socks for slippers. There is something to watch with this pattern. I will warn you ahead of time. Most sock patterns call for sock yarn, and the needles are usually anywhere from a 1 to maybe a 2.5, 2 3/4, something like that, to do socks with. This is a bigger sock as far as the material you're using. It calls for DK weight, which is in between a sport weight and a worsted. It's kind of in between. This is a DK weight yarn that I knitted this with, and let's see if I can hold it up so you can see if you can see the thickness of that compared to what I am using for the second one, which is a sock weight. They're close if you see the two together, but this is a little bit thinner. This has a little more substance to it. It's a little bit thicker when you feel them together. This one is definitely a little thicker. Now, I didn't think I was a loose knitter, but with these socks, it calls for casting on 52 stitches, and they want you to use a 3.75 millimeter needle, which is also a US 5. Those are big needles for socks, okay? I actually knit these on a 4 millimeter a 4 millimeter needle. I used a size 6, so I did use too big of a needle when I made these. However, I cut my stitch count way down. I think I counted 48, so I cut about I counted 42. So I took about 10 stitches off of this because I increased the size of the needle I was knitting it with. And it's still, this sock is loose. So I maybe am a loose knitter. I didn't think I really was. I think I'm pretty average. But just a little heads up on this, just to be aware of it, to do a knit gauge, a gauge to make sure that you're not gonna end up with like stockings to hang on the mantle, but they're gonna actually fit your feet. Now I'll show you what I'm doing. This is the yarn I'm going to use. It's called On the Round, and the color is called Deconstructed Twinkle Twinkle. This is the yarn I thought some of the green speckles kind of reminded me of mildew. All the more reason to make socks out of them. I don't know what I'm thinking, but anyway, yeah, here's the green. You can see up close. Yeah, there's some of it right in here. Kind of reminded me of mildew. It doesn't look bad knitted up, but I decided I wanted to do a little swatch to check my gauge, and I am pretty much on gauge using this thinner yarn. Like I said, this is sock weight yarn, and these needles, you can use double pointed needles. I don't like double pointed needles. These are 9-inch. They say they're 9 inches, but boy, they look shorter than 9 inches. But that's what they say they are. So it is from tip to tip when they say 9 inches. But these are 9-inch, and they are actually US 3s or 3.23 millimeters. So they're basically like a toothpick. But I like the way my stitches look. You can see that they're much closer together than they are with this. Here you can see how stretched out. Like I said, this is a wider, thicker yarn, but I like the way this is looking much better. So I knitted a section in the 2x2 rib, which is what the cuffs are done in, and then I knitted a section in stockinette. Now, if you don't know how to check gauge, if you do, just ignore this part. But if you don't, you knit a section. You're supposed to knit a bigger swatch than this. I cheated. I just knitted like this because you just are going to take your ruler and you're going to measure across. And you're going to see what 1 inch is and how many stitches are within that 1 inch. And they give you suggested, the knit gauge they suggest is 5.5 stitches and 7 rows to the inch in a stockinette stitch. And I didn't measure the height, but I did measure the width, and I have 5 between, it falls right between the 5 and the 6 stitch for 1 inch. So I know that I am in gauge, even though I'm using little needles and thinner yarn. So I just wanted to check before I knit all of these, and I would suggest everybody to do this just to make sure that the socks are going to fit until you get more familiar with the pattern and get to play around with it a little bit. So yeah, that's the information on that sock, and that is going to start in January. We're going to start with that. So this way it gives you all month long to get your supplies and to download the pattern. The needle I am using are Chalgoos, and they're not overly bad price wise. I think I paid $6 or $7 from these at my yarn shop. So you know, you can use double pointed needles or you can use the 9-inch circulars, whichever you are more comfortable with. I have double pointed needles, but I tend to have ladders, which means that when I change from one needle, I also get needle confused too. I apparently cannot multitask because I start knitting around and I forget to change the needle as I go around, and by the time I finish, they're all on 1 or 2 needles instead of 4, the way it's supposed to be, or I forget which direction I'm going, or I don't get the stitches tight enough between when I change needles, and so I have a little gap, and that's what they call ladders, as you can see right where I change needles. So I like this much better. So that would be what we're going to be doing with our sock along. Now I have acquisitions. I don't have much this week. I did order, and I told you all last week, I had ordered from Craftsy for my birthday, because my birthday was Monday. And my husband said, well, just go ahead and order whatever you would like. So I spent, I think, $24, and that included shipping. They were having a big sale because my birthday falls on right near Thanksgiving, so they had all the Cyber Monday sale on my birthday. So I got the pattern for like 60% off, and it's a kit. I have it sitting here someplace. Here it is. This is what I'm going to be making. It's by Aunt Nini's Knits, and it is this poncho. You can see it right here. You can wear it 3 different ways. I like it this way best. I don't know if I like that, but I like it this way. Or you can wear it kind of like that, which is okay too. And the pattern, it included the pattern and it included the yarn. And I think because of the discount, I paid $14 for it. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. I was totally fascinated with how in the world do you make the plaid? Excuse me. How in the world do you create a plaid and knit it? It was so simple. I read through the pattern. Now, I can't give it away because it's a paid-for pattern. But you're basically knitting large stripes, and you're going to chain stitch into the existing stripes, and that's how you get the cross pieces for this. So, yeah. I thought that was interesting because I really do like the plaid pattern that's on there. I think it's cool. Now mine are not in this color. The one I ordered, funny enough, the colors are very similar to the poncho I'm currently knitting. They are kind of a rust and a tan and a cream color. So because I'm just not into salmon, is not one of my favorite colors. So anyway, I was hoping that would be in so I could show you the yarn, but it didn't come in. But I did download, and there's no picture. This is a free pattern. It's called the Reyna shawl, and I don't see who it's by. I'm wondering if this didn't print the whole pattern or something. Oh, here it is. It is by Noora. I'll put the name. Noora Laivola. Noora Laivola. I'm probably totally massacring that. I will put it in the bottom here. It is called the Reyna shawl, and it doesn't show a picture. It's a shame, because it's one that you can use to kind of stash bust. If you've got lots of yarn, you can just keep adding to it, make it as big or as small as you want. It's a triangular shawl, and it pretty much, from what I've seen in the picture, it looks like it's a lot of garter. It's like garter and then yarn overs, and garter and yarn overs. That's kind of what it looks like it is. I could be totally wrong, but the pictures, that's what it looks like it is, and you just keep adding to it, and it gets bigger. So, yeah, so I downloaded this, and like I said, it's free, and there's several people who are making this. The pattern's been out since 2015? Yes, 2015, but apparently it's just been discovered because there's a lot of people who have been knitting it. I think Cherry Pearl's podcast, I think one of them was making it. And there was somebody else who was making it or talking about it. Might have been the Grocery Girls. Somebody else was talking about making this. And I keep thinking there was someone else who was doing it too. Because I heard it from one of the other podcasters was talking about it. And anytime I hear free, it's like antennas pop up and it's like, ooh, you know. And so, yeah, I like free. It's like plastered on my forehead. So when I heard it was free and I thought it was a pretty pattern, I had to go over and check it out, and then I downloaded it. So I have an idea what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'm not sure if I'll get around to it before Christmas. I have more silver yarn that's in 2 different shades of silver, but this would be really pretty to wear for Christmas, but I don't know if I'll get to that or not. I've got so many things on the needles at this point. Every time I think I'm getting better and getting things off the needles, I end up putting more on. I don't know what's wrong with me. So, let's see. I thought I would tell you what I'm reading. I haven't done one of these for a while. I'm currently reading, it's called Doom with a View. It is by Kate Kingsbury. And this is the second in the series. It is called A Merry Ghost Inn Mystery. And the first one I think was called Dead and Breakfast. I'm pretty sure that was the name of the first one. It's a cute series. It's a daughter... Yeah, Dead and Breakfast is the first one. It's a daughter and a grandmother, and they buy this old Victorian house that they want to restore. In the first book in the series, they buy this house. They want to restore it and open a bed and breakfast. But in the middle of all the renovations, they discover a skeleton of the former owner in the wall. And so, of course, you know, investigation pursues, and they have to try to figure out who the real killer is and what really happened. So, and the ghost part of the story, you never see anything, but you just hear him. He was supposed to be an artist that died at some point or whatever, and so you hear him laugh every so often. He likes to play tricks and move things. I think in this book he moved one of the umbrella. He put an umbrella in the shower or something like that. And so this one I just started, and one of their first grand opening, one of their guests died. I don't think I want to visit here, but anyway, one of their guests died, and everybody there didn't like him. They all the other people that were staying there kind of knew him. It reminds me of the Orient Express, where everybody had a vendetta against this guy. So, yeah, so I'm not sure who did it yet. I'm about a third of the way through the book. So anyway, it is a cute read. It's a fast read. It's one you don't, it's not, you know, too deep. It's more I read to entertain, not to educate myself most of the time. Once in a while, but for the most part, I read for entertainment. So, yeah, it's a cute book. Check it out. And I guess that is about it. All the pictures I showed you, I think it was last week, with all the Christmas presents piled up. It looked like Santa threw up on the table. It was just gifts everywhere. They're all wrapped. You have permission to hate me. I can't stand wrapping presents. I really can't stand wrapped presents. So I figured every time I went in to cook something in the kitchen, while it was cooking, I would walk over and do a little bit more and wrap a little bit more, and it's over and it's done with. And we finished. We had 2 gifts to get. We got them today. They're done. I just have to wrap them. So then I can actually enjoy Christmas, because the part that I don't like doing is finished with. So, yeah, all of it's done. So I guess that is it for this week. Oh, I completely forgot. I have show notes right here. I forgot show and tell. I do have show and tell. I didn't initially have show and tell until I talked to Beverly, who lives up in Newfoundland, and she was chatting back and forth with me this morning because she saw the first Advent thing unboxed this morning. Well, no, I guess that would be yesterday. Yeah. Anyway, so she chatted with me and said, "Do you have anything for show and tell this week?" And it was like, no, not unless you would like to put something in. So she helped me out and she sent me some pictures. So one of them is the bedspread, the quilt afghan that she's shown, that I showed last week. But she's got some other pictures of some things. So she has been a busy lady as well, because I think one of them, maybe all of them, are Christmas presents. I'm not sure, but I know that the heart bedspread that she made is a Christmas present, or is a present for somebody in her family. So anyway, I will insert those right here. Thank you, Beverly. That pretty much wraps it up for this week. If you do have pictures of projects you have finished that you would like me to include, you can reach me. I have a Yahoo account for this channel. It is KatrinasCreations at yahoo.com, and you can just send me a picture there and I will put it in, and so all of us can admire it. So yeah, it's been great talking to you guys. Hope you have a good week. And don't forget to watch every day for the yarn unboxing as I open up the Advent calendar and add to it each day. And otherwise, I will see you next Saturday. Bye, guys.